Belarus riot police drop shields and are embraced by anti-government protesters. I always wonder what goes through Leo's minds when they're facing off against crowds of angry people. I mean, yes, it must be scary, and you're allegedly preserving law and order. But if people of your community are reasonably pissed off at your bosses and your bosses are hiding behind you, why wouldn't you ultimately side with your neighbors and friends and family? Unless you're shipped in from elsewhere. / at least 50 Belarus, https://cnn.com/2020/08/14/Europe/Belarus torture allegations intlhnk/index. HTML, security personnel in riot gear dropped their shields and were embraced by anti-government protesters in Minsk. Oh, this is when things start to turn around. / as demonstrators chanted brothers at the police. That's how it's done. The Orange Revolution in Ukraine was like that. When the revolt stormed the government buildings, they confronted the police, pulled their shields away and shoved them into the crowd, unhurt. Mostly unhurt anyways. Riot cops didn't even swing a baton or spray a drop of CS to stop them either. If Russia doesn't get the government they want in Belarus, expect weird Russian mercenaries and suspiciously well-equipped people's militas fighting to get a more Russia-friendly government is all. You can follow my updates on what is happening in Belarus on /r/Europe megathread, https://www. reddit.com/r/Europe/comment/I8MCRG/megathread_unrest_the/G1BBXTD/. Regarding the article, keep in mind these are just internal troops, young boys without special training. This is not police, Omen, Spetsnaz, or army. A few internal troops dropping their shields means absolutely nothing while other special forces keep beating and torturing people. Lukashenko better start thinking about where he wants to retire. Isn't the police giving up the last hurdle before the president gets executed? If this starts to happen nationwide, he is gone. Don't give up, guys. When the shields start dropping, that's a crack widening. Way too few of the police are siding up with the people. It's shocking to see how low that percentage is. Wait until dark, they're gonna tear gas those people. It sucks to have to say, but government strongmen are never to be trusted, especially when it looks like it's in good faith. Has anyone been thinking what will happen next? This is keeping me up at night. I truly wish for the liberation of Belarus. It warms my heart to see these people dream of a brighter future. But do you think Putin will think that was okay? Especially after he himself had a lot of brave demonstrators in Moscow recently, strengthening his claim to power. What can the EU do if the sanctions actually go through? Will Belarus be a part of the EU? Now that it faces its greatest crisis of its time, with the UK leaving and Hungary doing its thing to reverse its democracy, and Poland fighting hard just to keep people standing with the LGBTQ community. From what I learned from history, you don't want to corner a bear when it's angry. It's a trap, don't fall for it. We've seen this a bunch in the American protests, and they just pick their sticks back up and get back to beating. They use it to suck you into pepper spray range. Don't fall for it. Edit. I'm American and therefore outsider, so my opinions aren't worth much. Just be careful, guys. It's a photo op. They'll fucking kill someone with live ammo tomorrow night, I'm sure. Explain to me something. Why does the article work so hard to cast doubt on the legitimacy of the protest and its claims? For example, why does it say that some believe the election was rigged, while the evidence is overwhelmingly clear that it was? I hope this isn't similar to our American cops who took a knee for media stories/photo ops, but went back to beating up protesters once they thought the media was gone. The title made it sound as if a large group of police dropped their shields, but it's just one guy. Unless they are also leaving their positions, I don't personally see any meaning in the embrace. Wonder how long it'll be until either a civil war breaks out with the pro-freedom group backed by NATO and the status quo backed by Russia. Or Russia just drives the tanks in and annexes them or something like that. Is this like the part where cops in the US danced with BLM protesters and knelt in the streets during daylight and everyone applauded them for humanity, but once the sun went down shot the same protesters with rubber bullets? If Lukashenko loses power, will Russia invade like they did with Ukraine in 2014? When you watch the video it seems more like a photo op than an actual feel-good story. Just remember, stuff like this is typically propaganda. The world stood by and did nothing while Russia invaded and annexed Crimea. The world will continue standing by. Thank you. Luka is preparing his flight tickets. I hope Belarusians film and document all the criminals wearing uniforms as much as possible so they can get punished for their crimes later. Good luck. They really shouldn't hug even with masks. Now that's how you protest. Right-wing aggressor states like today's Russia and today's USA have a long history of world destruction, but, in the end, those aggressor states either reform or die. The timeline for the reformation of today's Russia and today's USA isn't clear, but they are both pursuing strategies that, historically, wind up with the wealthy aristocracy with their heads chopped off, and their palatial comforts burned to the ground. The cycles of history are almost as predictable as physics. Almost, but not exactly. So there is some comfort that can be seen in the tea leaves of today's fascist-led states. Their leaders will be executed and their supporters chased into the deepest pits of hell. I hope it happens within the year, but, of course, nobody knows the future. But the best predictor of the future is the past. And the past is filled with tyrants who went too far, and their worlds blown into rubble. It's either that outcome, or genocide by the wealthy on everyone they cannot control. Remember, the police in the US did all sorts of nice-looking, protester-friendly things for the cameras in daylight, and promptly resumed cracking skulls within a few hours. Hope. Thankfully Europe isn't filled with puppet governments prepared to invade against protesters, just Russia, and that's a big maybe at this point, so hopefully things work out well. Amazing. Beautiful and incredible and something I never believed I would see. I do remember seeing a young black cop turn in his badge in the early days of the BLM protests. That was an amazing moment. They wouldn't let him wear the badge and kneel with his brothers. So he gave them back the badge and walked out the door. The riot police are probably getting gypped by the federal government now, so I don't blame them, that and they're humans being oppressed by the same government. Pure speculation based on what limited knowledge of the situation I have. Someone please bring me up to speed. The day that the police and the army realize that they are closer to the poor people they beat up than the rich they defend, the world is going to be turned upside down. Things that will never happen in America for 500 Alex. Now that just got way more interesting. When this happens, we can only hope Mr. President goes to visit his cousin in Russia. It's literally always a trap when they do this shit. I'm concerned, seriously 2 young guys were killed. I can't feel in peace knowing somewhere European brothers are being molested and killed. Do we know more about the 2 dead protesters? The president of this country is a dictator and an homophobic jerk. Revolution incoming? Probably not, sadly. Belarus desperately needs democracy, like many other countries, but dictators don't seem to get toppled as much as they used to back in the past. 2020 is starting the happy ending like, but I hope it continues this way. It's the other side of the crying game it seems. The frog pieces out with the scorpion.